guys, I have one question for you. What is the difference between this and this? They're both ovulation kits, otherwise known as OPKs, and these ones come in a box of 100 for $20.95, and these ones come in a box of 10. That's $12.99. That means if I wanted to get a box of these, I would be spending less money on one box of these than I would on the equivalent of 10 boxes of these. If I were to get 10 boxes equaling 100 of these ovulation sticks, I would have spent $130 on these ovulation sticks. Whereas I can buy 100 of these for only $20.95. Like, that to me seems like a much better deal. But there's a lot of other differences between these two. For example, one is more prone than the other to essentially analyzing false LH surges. One you can test every day, and if you're having a false LH surge, then you have plenty of tests to go around to continue testing to see what's really going on. The other one is too expensive to do that with and doesn't always give you accurate information. So this has been my experience with these two particular OPKs. One is first response, which is the ovulation stick. And the other one is by a company called Pragmate, and it looks like this. So these are the two ovulation strips that I've been mainly using throughout my TTC journey, and it hasn't really been all that it's cracked up to be honest. I have had a road bump with these at the very beginning in like month 4 in May, 4 or 5 in May. I had a huge issue with these because honestly they weren't working the same that they should have been working, and honestly it was very, very frustrating to find that out. So without further ado, here's the video kind of explaining my frustrations and what's really going on. Hi, I thought I would log something because I just discovered something ridiculous about me trying to get pregnant, and I thought I would log it. So when I started this journey, I was not religiously testing for ovulation, and I had started off with Clear Blue, the Clear Blue ovulation tests, which have a blue line, I do believe, something like that. Anyway, so I started off with those ones, and I really wasn't doing it all that much, so I just figured if it didn't come in by that time, you know, I'll go and get new ones, and I wasn't doing it every day, so I just figured that I kept skipping windows, and I eventually went back to the store once I ran out of the Clear Blue digital, or it wasn't the digital ones, it's just a normal ovulation test, but once I had run out of the Clear Blue ovulation test, I was like, oh, I'll try first response and see, because they're a little bit cheaper for a bundle, and so I'll use those and see. Well, I kept getting negative results, and last month, which was April, I did test religiously every day since my period ended, and it was really weird. There was a day when it was darkish, but it wasn't the same level of dark. And it didn't even get to the same darkness as the control line. The test line didn't. And then I was really confused because I was like, that's what it says, is it needs to be the same darkness, and it's not. So I'm like, what's going on here? Well, so this is the first response. This is what I was using. First response ovulation. It did not give me my most fertile days. It didn't even give me the day I was ovulating. These have not worked for me at all. But it even shows on the side of the box here what it's supposed to look like. Oh, can you guys see that? What it's supposed to look like if the test is positive and the test is negative. And what I got before wasn't really all that dark, so I don't even think that I can legitly count it as having been positive. So I didn't count it as being positive because I wasn't sure. It didn't really seem all that dark. There was just two apparent lines there, and that was it. It wasn't like one was darker than the other. That was the control line, and the test line was like there, but like not dark at all. So I didn't think I could count it, so eventually I just was like, oh, I'm not going to count it. Well, this is what I took not 5 minutes ago. Very, very clearly, hold on, I'm trying to move forward a little bit up. There's very clearly two lines there. Very clearly positive. Okay? And, so I was like, oh, how do I know if it's positive or not? And I asked on my Glow app, and someone was like, oh yeah, that's totally positive, time to baby dance. And then I was like, oh, I've got some first responses. Why don't I take a first response and see if it clarifies what's going on? This is what I got on the first response. There's two lines there. The second line is so faint that it might as well not be there at all. Super upset about that. So when I found this out, when I just took this, and I found that out, I was like, well, maybe this ovulation test is a dud. So here's this test. And so I took another first response. And this first response, again, only has one line. The second line is there, but very barely visible. So I was like, well, maybe the other one was a dud. Maybe the positive wasn't really a positive. It was just, these new tests just don't know what's going on. So I took a fourth. So this one is the first one that I took here. Trying to see, sorry. And then this one is the second one. As you can clearly see, there's two lines on both of these. I've gotten the Glow approval for positive ovulation test, and I'm a little bit pissed off because this entire last month I was really stressing out about what was going on and why hadn't I ovulated Well, now I'm starting to understand that maybe first response is just not going to work for me. It just didn't even bring up the fact that I might be ovulating at all after a whole month's worth of tests, and it got somewhat close, but then just ended. Like, it got like not even near as dark as it says it needs to get, and then on top of that, it was like the second it turned like a little bit apparent, it just went away after that. Like, and I was thinking to myself, like, I tested every day, so why didn't I ovulate? Well, now I know it was because the first responses weren't working. Maybe it's just for my body type, maybe it's just me, but they clearly haven't worked up to this point. Of 2 months of using them, I haven't been able to detect what days I was ovulating on, and it definitely did not test the fertile days. And this is the other stuff that I'm using. This is what I'm using. It's by Pragmate. It's just a big box like this, a little sperm and egg. And it just comes with pregnancy tests and ovulation tests, and that's the ones that I used that were positive. So now I know that I can go and get busy with my husband, and have a baby. Hopefully that will lead to that. But at least I have the option now. Like, I have the opportunity to do it now, and I'm like really irritated that all that time and money went into first response and they weren't even working. I also read an article out of my concern and frustration about ovulation tests, and it said that the first response ones are their detection rate is way too high for the average woman, and a lot of women do not get positive tests on them. And I really honestly wish I had known that before I had spent over $50 on them. I guess it could have been way worse. I could have been using them for months and months and not known why I wasn't getting pregnant, or why I couldn't figure out when I was ovulating, and it could have been a serious problem. I don't know, it's just kind of like a weird thing, because I suspected that I could, like, I was just trying to be like, I could trust the tests, but now I know I need to be wary of what kind of tests I'm taking and like what's really going on. And yeah, that's like really the first lesson that I've really learned out of everything, is just testing isn't always what you think. And as much as you'd like to test, it doesn't mean the tests are going to have your answers for you. So right now I'm just like pretty irritated at the first response. I'm glad that I know this now, so I don't have to use them anymore. It makes me a little hesitant, to be honest. Like, I'm hesitant to use their pregnancy tests now, but I guess I don't really have to use their pregnancy tests. Like, I have a couple of them, but I'm probably not going to use them because I've got pregnancy tests that came with my Pragmate kit, and so I'm like, I would much rather use those, you know? Much rather use those. And it's just like, it blows my mind. You know, me and my husband had sex last night, so we'll probably not have it till tomorrow, but yeah, I just wanted to say that because it's like, this is part of my journey, you know. It's like this discovery and like everything that's been going on around my life, and this was a very interesting discovery to make, so I thought I would record this for my vlog. And I'm tired because it's like almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I just got back from Longview because I was trying to be there for somebody important to me, and really just like provide some support for her because she was like having a rough time of it. So I went to Longview and now I'm back. Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting. But that's all I've got to share with you guys. That's all I wanted to say. It just blows my mind that that was occurring the whole time. So the difference between these OPK tests, obviously, is that for me, this one does not work for me, and this one does. So not only is price a factor, but the fact that I can use multiple of these in a month, even in a day, and I can test twice a day if I have to. I can test every month from a period forward and then just keep testing if I really feel necessary. The fact that I have those just on hand is very awesome to me, and it really helps me to know when I'm ovulating. And honestly, these have been a godsend because I was spending way too much on the sticks like this, and I was running out of money, and I was afraid for a while that I wasn't going to have enough money to really be able to afford to get any ovulation tests or even any pregnancy tests. And things were rough for a while there, so I'm really, really grateful to have these, and that I could just spend $20 on a whole box of 100 of them was a blessing. This is not a product placement, this is just a review, but honestly, I had a lot of issues with the first response ones, and I honestly cannot believe that they were lying to me for 4 or 5 months. It's been so shocking, and the minute I found that out, I automatically switched out for something else. And I even tested, I think I had a couple clear blues left as well. I had even tested on them, and both these ones and the clear blue ones proved to me that the first response ones were just not working the way that they needed to be, and they weren't giving me accurate information. And that was really, really frustrating. That was another road bump in our journey, trying to figure out, how does this really play out in the long run? How is this going to work out for us in terms of, trying to conceive? There's other ways of testing for ovulation, but ovulation kits have been the most essentially helpful for me, because when they're actually telling me what's going on, then I have an accurate window into what's going on, and I do test immediately from when I get my period all the way to the point where I get a positive ovulation test, and sometimes I'll even test after that for a couple days just to make sure that it's not going to go back. But honestly, it was super duper frustrating having to deal with this situation, and I'm so glad that I would discover that. If I had gone my whole pregnancy without discovering that, that could have been disastrous for us. But this is just one of the things that we know now has actually been impeding us in our attempts to have a baby. So it's been interesting for sure, and I honestly discovered a lot about my ovulation in these first couple months. Within the first 6 months, I discovered so much about my body, and I couldn't have done it without these ovulation tests that they're just like little sticks, they're little dippable, and they're super easy, honestly. You dip them for 3 seconds, you pull them out, and you wait 5 minutes, and then there you go. Whatever it says is what it says. And honestly, maybe there's some times when it jumps back a little bit, and it seems like it's negative, like we missed ovulation, but it always bounces forward again. So I've had nothing but promise with these little teeny tiny sticks, cheap sticks. So for me personally, I would say that the cheapies are much, much more worth it than any of the fancier stuff. So that's my personal opinion and my review of the first response tests, and how I really feel. And this is something that impacted my journey towards becoming a parent for the first time. But I would like to say thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification button for more content. Until next time.